According to previews for the week of July 21st, there will be some surprises on The Bold and the Beautiful. When Sheila Carter-Sharp pays Liam Spencer a visit, Steffy Forrester Finnegan remains composed. In addition, John Finnegan will look into it if Grace Buckingham doesn't come clean. Let's discuss what will happen this week in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. The Second Chance of Liam Spencer. First, let's talk about Liam, who recently experienced a medical miracle. In addition to receiving a diagnosis of an incurable brain tumor, Luna Nozawa also shot Liam. When Grace pressed Bill Spencer about the experimental therapy, Liam was still recuperating from the gunshot operation. Everyone is thankful to Grace for saving Liam's life, and she has suddenly become $1 million richer. Except for Bill, everyone was questioning Grace's morality and ethics. Nevertheless, Grace provided MRI pictures of the patient before and after, confirming that there is no longer any tumor. The timing simply appears to be a complete coincidence. John Finnegan's uncertainty that Liam will be alright is a relief to everyone. Two characters did, however, raise their eyebrows. Finn and Hope Logan are those people. Bill didn't have the literature or numbers that the doctor requested. Finn will therefore probably approach Grace and ask for some explanations when he returns to work. Grace received $1 million for doing the procedure. Was it gambling or debt? Perhaps she has an addiction. Has Grace's personality changed for the worse? Or is she being blackmailed? Finn will be unable to stop thinking about it. He will thus look into it if Grace is dishonest. The Truce of Sheila Carter-Sharp. According to spoilers for the week of July 21st on The Bold and the Beautiful, Sheila appears in an image that was made public. At Bill's house, it depicts the repentant villain in Liam's room. Looking at Sheila, Steffy sits in a chair. The waitress reveals her most recent toe amputation as she jumps around. Neither Steffy nor Liam appear agitated or anxious. Does this imply a truce then? July 21st, 2025 week. Luna Nozawa is most likely being concealed by Lee Finnegan. Luna was recuperating from surgery one moment, and then she vanished. Nick Marone and Taylor Hayes converse elsewhere. Katie Logan will also be present, asking Brooke Logan a lot of personal questions. The eight-toed, rehabilitated Sheila Sharp has an awkward encounter with her enemies Liam Spencer and Steffy Forrester this week after her granddaughter almost killed all three of them, according to spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful. Sheila visits Bill Spencer's estate during the week of July 21st to 25th in order to speak with Liam. Although Sheila isn't well liked by anyone, she did try to protect Liam and Steffy from Luna Nozawa's shooting spree at the beach home. Sheila is now 8 toes. For Sheila, who hates Steffy and previously shot her and abandoned her to die, that was a significant change. However, Sheila diverted Luna's attention at the beach home, allowing Liam to seize the madman's firearm and shot her in the heart. Liam, Luna, and Sheila were all shot and taken to the hospital in a graphic scene. Word eventually got out that Luna had passed away, but that is a tale for another time. What is Sheila trying to tell Liam? She might admit to him that she doesn't hold him responsible for her granddaughter's death. She could also give him credit for saving Steffy and making sure her son John Finnegan's wife survived. We also need to discuss Liam's condition. Liam had life-saving brain surgery following his life-saving chest surgery. All of this occurred within a few hours, and amazingly, Liam was soon released home to resume his life. Would Liam actually perish? Liam's miracle will undoubtedly be discussed when he discloses that his experimental treatment for a brain tumor worked. Steffy and Liam are together during the conversation, which results in awkward exchanges between them. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful. Sheila's mishaps. Is everything now forgiven regarding Liam and Steffy's privacy? Sheila, however, attempts to lighten the mood by showing off her unusual foot and cracking jokes about having 8 toes. Liam laughs and Steffy smiles a little at the teasing. So is Sheila on the verge of being welcomed by Steffy and her son Finn? Explosive. According to teasers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Steffy and Liam are taken aback by their casual encounter with Sheila, and we believe that this might be the start of a wonderful friendship. The living room where Steffy Forrester was sitting curled up on the sofa with her fingers tapping restlessly against the armrest, was bathed in a golden glow as the sun poured through the cliff house's large windows. Normally, she found calm in the sound of the waves below, but this morning the water sounded restless, its beat reflecting her uneasy thoughts. Sheila Carter stood across from her, unwelcome but somehow calm, her hands crossed in front of her like a visitor who knew she wasn't welcome but still showed up. Steffy had needed to find strength on numerous occasions in her life, whether it was for herself, her children, or her family's history. But today, listening was more powerful than fighting. Every instinct in her body told her to do otherwise. Sheila said, "I'm not here to make excuses," in a low, exhausted, and nearly human voice. "I've hurt this family enough already. I am aware of that. However, I'm working to improve. I'm attempting to improve." Steffy took a while to respond. Fear and memories of betrayal filled the air between them. At one point, she would have written off the prospect of a truce with Sheila as insane. However, Finn had changed and things had changed. Her spouse, who had the difficult relationship of being Sheila's son, had laboriously and gradually pushed for peace. And here they were now. "Sheila, you can't change the past," Steffy remarked in a level but icy tone. "I will never forget what you did, no matter how much you pretend." "I don't want you to forget," Sheila blurted out. "I'm requesting an opportunity to demonstrate my ability to avoid your life. That I am able to honor your limits. That I will no longer pose a threat to your family." Steffy's eyes narrowed at the final part. "You can't simply turn off danger." Sheila remained silent. She merely gave a nod. And there was something almost shocking submission in that nod. Or perhaps just the way it looks. Steffy was no longer naive. Yet trusting Sheila Carter was like standing on a precipice during a storm. She was refusing to pardon. She was giving room. A place that could help her family stay together and her spouse stay sane. An automobile drew up outside. Shortly after, with his briefcase in hand and the tension of yet another long shift still visible on his face, Finn entered the room. He paused, a glimmer of incredulity flickering in his eyes as he beheld the two women in the same room. Not yelling, not threatening, just being. "You two spoke." Steffy got up and walked up to him. She declared, "We're trying something. Not for her. For you." Finn looked at his wife and then at his mother. He was extremely grateful, but he was also under a lot of strain. In actuality, his shift had not ended amicably. Questions, persistent misgivings, and the unavoidable stirrings of something larger, something darker, had occupied his night. He nodded toward Steffy's bedroom and whispered softly, "I need to talk to you." Before they vanished down the corridor, she gave Sheila one final suspicious look and followed him. Finn turned to Steffy and left his medical bag on the dresser as the door closed. "There is a problem. I believe my mother is once more involved in anything. Something illegal." Steffy felt sick to her stomach. "I believed you mentioned that she was attempting to change," he remarked. "She says that. However, one of my patients arrived last night with injuries that didn't fit his account. Claimed to have fallen. However, his defensive wounds and bruises didn't stack up. And I looked up the name he provided me, Paul Marin. Doesn't exist. Then I discovered that he was somehow related to Deacon Sharp." "Deacon?" Steffy scowled. "How does Sheila relate to that?" "Everything. No matter what they act like, she and Deacon are still close. And lately, I've witnessed her hanging around with dubious individuals. Men she won't name. I don't believe she has reverted to her previous behavior. She never left them, I believe." Steffy paced. It felt like quicksand on the brittle ground she and Sheila had just stepped on. "So what should we do?" "I have to look into it. Discreetly. I must ascertain this man's identity and the reason behind his flight. Additionally, we'll need evidence if Sheila is involved. Actual evidence." She gave a nod. "And I'll hold her close to me in the interim. Perhaps I can get her to reveal something if she is concealing something." Liam Spencer gazed out the window of his Spencer Publications office, in another part of Los Angeles. His thoughts were far from business, even though he should have been checking contracts. All he could see was Steffy, her smile, her ferocious eyes, the way she used to gaze at him before everything went wrong. He had blown it. Once more. However, he secretly believed that there was still time. He had seen the flaws, but he had also seen her and Finn create something wonderful. There were cracks that nobody else wanted to acknowledge. He wasn't cheering for her marriage to collapse, but he also wasn't abandoning her. He thought he still had a chance in that obstinate Spencer manner. Reaching for his phone, he browsed through their previous texts. She had been curt in her last one. She was not prepared to speak, but perhaps now that things were shifting he had a chance. A message was typed out by him. I know I've said it before, but I will always stand up for you. I'm here if you ever need me. There is no pressure. Simply love. Before he could second-guess himself, he pushed send. Sheila strolled along the beach outside Deacon's house that evening as the sun began to drop over Malibu. Her hair was pulled by the wind, and there was an odd solace in the sea breeze. On the porch, Deacon greeted her, his gaze sweeping over the horizon before focusing on her face. You spoke with Steffy? She gave a nod. It wasn't a conflict. Isn't that something? I suppose. He appeared worn out and older than she could recall. But I must ask, Sheila, what are you actually doing? You claim to have changed, but last week I saw you with that guy. Paul was the one who said his name. Her eyes flashed as she turned to face him. You have no business doing that. Like the devil, it isn't. You bring such individuals into your life and you also bring me into it. And if Finn discovers this... He has already done so, she remarked. He is dubious. Steffy is also observing me. Deacon wiped his face with his hand. So what? What have you become entangled in? She paused. There's something I can't reverse. However, I am also unable to leave. Everything will be lost for you. I've lost everything already. All that remains is the delusion that perhaps, just possibly, I can still be Finn's mother. Finn, meanwhile, wasn't sleeping. He had devoted hours to learning more about Paul Marin's enigma. Every route he took ended in failure. Missing records, burnt phones, and phony addresses. Then he discovered something. An old police file connected to a false identity that matched a scar pattern he had seen while Paul was receiving therapy. The true name? Boyle Nathan. A former enforcer for a Chicago mid-tier crime group. Everything started to come together. Boyle was hiding from vengeance, not from a mistake. Sheila was still entangled in the underworld if he had sought her assistance. Finn wished it were untrue. He wished he had a mother he could believe in. However, you couldn't wish away the truth. He locked the file in his drawer after printing it and putting it in a folder. He would face her tomorrow. There was anxiety in the air as the following day broke. Unannounced but determined, Liam arrived to Forrester Creations. Steffy was taken aback but not totally taken aback. She looked over her shoulder and remarked, I got your message, before escorting him inside her office. That was surprising. I understand. Liam put his hands in his pockets and tried not to show his passion as he continued. I didn't come to put pressure on you. I wanted to let you know that you are in my sights. I understand your situation. If you're not feeling well, you don't have to act that way. I'm all right, she said too hastily. You are? He asked. Because Steffy, I've seen that expression in your eyes before. When we lost Phoebe, you had the same expression. When you thought you had to bear the weight of everything. You don't have to accomplish it by yourself. She didn't want to acknowledge how deeply his comments struck her. Despite their past, Liam provided solace. There was familiarity, understanding, and a sense of security. However, there was also harm. Pain. Nevertheless, she couldn't help but wonder if she could start over while standing this close to him. She took a while to respond. Rather, she moved past him and gazed out the window, her eyes hazy with confusion and remembrance. Finn approached his mother that evening. Sheila watched the stars come into being, while sitting on the terrace of her small apartment. Without introducing himself, Finn declared, I know who Paul really is. Boyle Nathan. You're keeping him safe. Why? She didn't recoil. Because he once assisted me. Many years ago. When no one else would, he kept me alive. He now required assistance. I owed him. He is a criminal. So was I, she muttered. Finn, people don't change all at once. However, they are subject to change. And occasionally we lend a helping hand to others because we understand what it's like to be alone. Not because they deserve it. Finn gazed at her. And what occurs if this backfires on us? On me? On my relatives? She turned her head away. I'll take care of it. I will not allow it to affect you. He remarked. That's not good enough. You no longer have the authority to decide that for me. Later, when they were alone, Finn told Steffy everything. Like she always did when it really mattered, she listened without saying much. She reached for his hand at the end. Now what? She inquired. I'm not sure, he said. But we'll deal with it. Together. And the world didn't feel as weighty as it did as they sat side by side. Not yet recovered. Yet not irreparably damaged. There was yet hope for the future somewhere between the past and the present, between truth and deception. Additionally, there could yet be time to revise it,